Welcome to the Future of Structures podcast, where we talk to the experts who are evolving our buildings for tomorrow. And here is your host, Adam Jones.
Today we are speaking with Samir Sinha, who is the founder of RobonomicsAI. So today there are new emerging technologies that are going to have a huge impact on the building industry. So things like drones, artificial intelligence, virtual reality and augmented reality, or cryptocurrencies. These are technologies still in their infancies, but are capable of causing major disruptions to the status quo. So Samir, he is an expert in finding out how to use all these new things, new exciting things to solve some of your problems that you might have in a commercial way. So in this episode, we're going to discuss the framework he developed to identify all the opportunities to utilize these new technologies, what the future will look like with these new technologies on the horizon, and where these things meet to create all kinds of new science fiction types of things. So I think there's never been more exciting time to be alive if you're on the right side of these changes. So listen in. I hope you guys enjoy this show as much as I did. It was a phenomenal chat with Samir. Without any further ado, here is Samir Sinha, the founder of RobonomicsAI.
I used to work for a software company called Oracle. And from there, I moved on to a services company called TCS, Tata Consultancy Services. And this was in India. Moved from Oracle to set up the SAP practice for TCS. And in 2004, early 2000s, I came to Australia to set up the SAP practice.
Awesome.
And what we brought to Australia at that time was a new way of doing our IT projects. It's called offshoring.
Yep.
So
Yeah, of course.
You don't need any introduction to it today, but you actually did during those days because it was something new, and using it for IT projects, people had to go through a certain mental block. And business did well, business grew. We went from strength to strength because we were bringing something new and different to the market.
Yeah.
In my last job, I ended up doing a bit of work around artificial intelligence and robotics, and I had a feeling of deja vu.
Yeah, wow.
I felt I'm living my life of 15 years all over again. There's something new that's coming to the market.
Yeah.
And people have apprehensions about it. But hey, that's the journey we've been through once. Can we go through it again? And that's why I gave up a 25-year-old career to say, let me throw headlong into it because I believe in this to that extent.
Yeah.
Put my money, put my life into this disruption that's sitting at our doorstep. So basically, we are in the business of helping our clients open the doors because the opportunity of artificial intelligence is knocking.
Yes, that is a good point. And we were saying before this interview how it's never been a better time to be alive with the amount of, and it's not just artificial intelligence, it's got robotics and Internet of Things and stuff like that. I'm sure we'll get into, but yeah, there's a lot of industries who they know it's coming and it's knocking on the door, but a lot of people don't know how to, I guess, open the door and utilize these technologies in their business.
Very true. Very true. Yeah.
So you've created a framework or a method of seeing how you can spot a problem in any kind of industry and then use a certain kind of methodology to see how you can use artificial intelligence to disrupt an industry. Can you just tell us a little bit about this framework you've developed?
Yeah, sure. So when we started off with this journey, to be honest, we were lost. The startup that we've gotten into, this artificial intelligence world that we're getting into, it doesn't come with an instruction booklet.
Yeah, that's right.
And the GPS maps don't have this as a destination. So we were lost. Okay.
Yep.
But then we had a set of clients who were willing to share their problems with us. And we started working through how can components of artificial intelligence, and I'm using the term artificial intelligence very loosely here. Turing may not approve of my definition, because for me, artificial intelligence is just the brain.
Yeah, okay.
And the brain, you having a beautiful brain will only do so much. You need to have your hands paint that beautiful picture that your brain's thinking. You need to take inputs from the music around you through your ears and view something. Likewise, the brain of artificial intelligence needs computer vision to look at problems.
Yeah.
It needs sensors and Internet of Things to be able to understand the state of a physical object. It needs things like drones and robots to carry it around. So the analogy is the machine learning brain actually needs components of technology for it to be working and delivering value.
Yeah.
So we got this thinking to actually start solving some of those initial problems that the clients had shared with us, where we started using different components of technology to solve the problems. So the first client, we ended up having 35 use cases where we found components of AI and robotics solving those problems.
And what industry was that first client in? When you
that was healthcare, actually.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So we found 35 use cases in healthcare, and we built proof of concepts for 4 of them. And the next client that we went to was in the resources sector, in the utilities, natural resources sector.
Yeah.
And there again, they shared some 10 odd problems with us, and we ended up looking at solutions that will help solve the problems. And then we went to several other clients. And when we had hit 90 use cases, we said, hey, let's step back and let's look at the journey that we had traveled so far, and let's see if there are any similarities, there are any trends that are emerging with whatever we had done.
Yeah.
And we realized there was. Just the way mind works, I think you start conditioning your activities because you learn from a set of initial experiments and put it to use in the next set of experiments. And over a period of time, certain things work for you, certain things do not work for you. And you kind of do more of what worked for you. And we followed that Darwinian progression in a way, like, the slowest moving ideas actually got annihilated by the experiments not getting successful. And the ones that made it, actually, we combined them together into one common methodology.
Awesome.
And we started stitching it together, validating it with all the clients that we had worked for. And then we ended up having a methodology which we used to basically start looking at problems and finding solutions in the artificial intelligence world for this methodology.
Awesome.
So that's how we ended up creating this methodology. It came with a lot of frustrations, with a lot of scars on our back, things that did not work, but eventually we had a working model of something we could take commercially to the clients.
Yeah, awesome. So it sounds like you start with the problem at first, and so whatever the client's going through, they have to identify that first. So how do they go about looking at the problem in a completely new lens to be able to spot how new technologies can solve that problem instead of humans?
Yeah. So normally the way we go about with this methodology is we start with getting to understand the problem in a certain level of depth. And we've ended up automating a bit of that process as well. So we basically use some new technologies to basically analyze how the client has been running that function, that process over the past years or whatever. So we start with that research around the metrics that exist with the client.
Yeah.
And then the traditional method of doing interviews, talking to people, validating whatever we found out. So basically we go to a little bit of depth in understanding how the work's happening today, what the problem is today, what the challenges are. And after we've learned that, our next step is to unlearn everything.
Yes. That's right.
So, and we typically do this in a design thinking workshop mode, where we get a client into a workshop, and this is aimed primarily at the board members and the CXOs of the organizations who have the vision to disrupt their industry and create a new positioning for their organizations using AI. So to this team, we say, whatever you've just described about what you're doing today, what your business is, now unlearn, just catch hold of the starting point and the ending point and unlearn everything in between. And that's the hard part.
Awesome.
But fortunately, we have tools, workshopping tools as part of the design thinking that actually allow us to do that. And then we say, here are the multiple components of the AI world, okay? And these could be machine learning itself. These could be robotic process automation. These could be augmented reality, virtual reality. These could be Internet of Things, blockchain. So we kind of demystify each of these technologies in the context of the client and their business problems.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. So we've identified the problem now. And say from here, how do we identify the opportunities in using these? And if you got an example maybe where artificial intelligence might be most suitable for certain kinds of problems or anything like that as well.
Yeah, sure. So we can talk about how artificial intelligence can actually disrupt the whole AEC industry. But before that, this workshop's aimed at solving specific problems that the client comes to us with, because that's bothering them. The whole idea is get the leaders solve a problem that's bothering them before we get them to go out there and change the world.
Gotcha.
And when they are solving their own problems, using these puzzle pieces of components of technology, they end up creating a solution that is their baby. Okay. And that's how we get over the change management, the executive buy-in, because these are people who are visionary by nature. They want to change. They want to create a differentiated position for their organizations. And we are now starting with their problem. And the other element that we help them envision do is what should be a vision of their industry. So 2 levels. One is what would be your prediction of how the industry is going to operate once the whole industry has been formed out of these technologies. And second is within that larger industry landscape, how do you solve your specific problem?
Yeah, awesome.
And once they've identified that, they stand up and make a presentation to the rest of the team. So there is a degree of peer review that happens, and we just facilitate them. So it is their solution, which is peer reviewed by their own people, and that's when they get an emotional buy-in with the whole idea. The next module, we actually take them to build a business case in the workshop and have a little implementation plan. And implementation plan typically starts with a series of very small proof of concepts.
Gotcha.
Where they build them, and this we've borrowed from the startup world.
The minimum viable product.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we get them to actually build a small minimum viable product that they go out there, test it with their clients, with their employees and other stakeholders. If they like it, invest more time and effort to build it further. If not, junk it, try some, fail fast.
Yes. Fail fast. Love it. Cool. And I take it by this conversation, you're most excited out of all the technologies about how artificial intelligence can disrupt industries. Would that be a good call?
Look, we've called the methodology AI first.
Yes.
On the back of the success of cloud first and mobile first. Now, we as an organization, we were born last year, 2016.
Yep.
And AI was in full swing then. So we call ourselves AI natives.
Awesome. Love it.
So when we go to market, we say we do not try and sprinkle AI on top of whatever you're doing. We try to recreate a vision using AI first, but then that vision you can achieve only by recognizing that we live in a real world with constraints that you would have in your overall solution. By constraints, I mean, your customers who would expect things to happen in a particular way, your suppliers who are geared up to work in a particular way, any investments you would have made in terms of systems, processes, people that you cannot wish away, or that politically powerful colleague who will not allow you to do new things. Cool. These are all constraints. If you can build a roadmap from this as is, consisting of the constraints to the vision to be that we discussed, and you build your minimum viable products along this journey specifically, then you're moving towards a direction. Awesome. Over a period of time, you would learn enough about to change or modify the vision that you have. It might become more ambitious or less, but at least you have you're moving in a particular direction.
Yeah, cool. And in this vision of the future, and I guess everyone in the industry has their own vision of what it might be, but say for your own opinion, what kind of work will be most suitable for humans, and how will we interact with these new technologies and AI? And is there any specific kind of tasks that are more suitable for the artificial intelligence as opposed to us?
Yeah, very good question, because the moment you start talking about automation and artificial intelligence, images of a dark Hollywood movie takes
Arnold
over.
Schwarzenegger. Terminator, of course.
The fact of the matter is, our imagination is fertile, and it could be dark, but reality is not. In real life, we're actually using artificial intelligence every day. We're using it when we check our inboxes and we see junk mail taken away. That's not going to destroy the world, is it?
No.
We get Siri to fix up our appointments, and we get ways to learn how fast we normally drive, to predict how long it's going to take us to reach a particular destination. That's not going to destroy the world. But these are places where machine learning is actually currently being used by us, not by someone else. So to start with, let's not get lost in the in the fear of a certain future that's dark and bleak. Let's look at how we are using these technologies today, and it's actually making our life simpler. So let's take this GPS example. Okay, it's not that we didn't drive cars and we didn't reach destinations before we had GPS. We just would open a map, we would try and plot it in our heads where we have to go. We had no idea how much traffic there would be or when we will reach, but we eventually reached.
Yeah.
What AI does in real life is something similar. We're doing stuff today which is repetitive, manual. We don't enjoy doing that stuff. It's that repetitive, manual, routine, boring, hazardous work that we do gets taken over by machines first. What it leaves us with is the pleasure of driving.
Yes.
Okay? The pleasure of driving and the pleasure of being told which route to take, which will have less traffic.
Yes.
Right?
Gotcha.
That's what AI is all about. It takes the grunt work away, allowing us to be more human.
Awesome.
It takes the robot away from our daily jobs, and it allows us to enjoy our work. That's how things are going to progress. And we will always remain the masters of these robots. You know, there will always be a power switch we will switch. So, and the dark image that some people are painting is so far into the future.
Yeah.
I'd be happy if Boston Dynamics can just make a robot that can climb a staircase,
Yes.
which they have done, by the way. To think that object, that machine, will rule the world is so far out. You know, there were similar kind of fears about nuclear bombs, the
Yes.
nuclear technology.
Gotcha.
Is the world dead?
No, we're around. We're live and kicking.
Thank you.
Awesome. And you say this as an approach to some of the problems. You combine technologies, like you might combine AR and VR and AI in certain different ways. Is there any certain combinations that are really unique at solving a lot of problems that excite you the most?
Look, there are certain solutions that look more sexy than the other. Certain solutions are more visible than the other. So if you look at Pokemon Go, it's very visual.
Yep.
It's augmented reality. So if you say, hey, I'm going to put a Pokemon Go in your BIM system and link it back to machine learning algorithms which will track multiple items you need in your construction site. And know what? Each little piece of information, I'm going to put it into a blockchain that can create a kind of a value exchange of how value is created at each step of the planning and construction activity. You suddenly end up envisioning a very new world.
Yes.
Now, what part excites me the most is actually not any of these. What would excite me the most is, so where is a client willing to try it out in real life? That's the most exciting part. Technology by itself is not sexy, it's not exciting. It's what you can do with that technology. That's the biggest plus point.
Yes.
You know, when we implemented robotics into this natural resources company, they were able to improve their efficiency by 87%.
Oh, wow. Unbelievable.
That 87% was more exciting than the whole process of implementing the solution for the client.
Yeah.
So I think technology, even in the AI world, is not what technology is. Technology is what technology does.
Yes.
That's the sexiest part.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. It does. And it's really interesting. I like how you brought up, a unique example of how you can combine BIM with blockchain, with machine learning. Is there any other kind of combinations in the buildings industry that you might?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, pretty much any activity that you take in the building construction industry can be enhanced by using a combination of these technologies. So if you look at machine learning, computer vision, drones, IoT, blockchain, chatbots, each one of these technologies is powerful enough to disrupt the entire industry.
Yes.
But if you can start combining multiple of these technologies to solve that one problem that you have, you're going to have so much power in your hands to impact. Let's take
Definitely.
the simple example: deaths at a construction site.
Yep.
When I was a kid, people died. And because they were working in a hazardous work site, it was taken, like shit happens, mate.
Yep. Yep.
Today, anyone getting injured is a big deal, right?
Definitely.
So technology's advanced to an extent. Today, most work sites will have significant number of cameras all around. Now, let's say those same cameras feed the images not into a tape, but into an artificial intelligence algorithm that is able to automatically identify where a hammer is kept, is able to identify nails on the floor that can injure people, that can identify certain objects kept in a position that's not safe. A machine learning algorithm, a computer vision algorithm can identify each of these items. Okay, and where do these come from? It comes from the same experiment which a few researchers did to identify cats. Where algorithms were taught how to identify cats. The same way, the algorithms can be taught to identify different items in a construction industry, at a construction site.
Awesome.
And algorithms will be able to figure out when there is a safety hazard even before a person sees it.
Wow. It sounds like there'll be, hundreds of different examples you could probably use or at least trial out with combining these technologies. And all it takes is, as you said, just one minimum viable product, and it might take, $100,000 prototype or something like that. But with that one test, you might be able to disrupt a whole industry and create a whole new offering that, has never been done before.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
So as we move toward the end now, Samir, what do you think will have the biggest impact in the buildings industry in the future?
It's a combination of all of these. I do not see one technology becoming, you could say the robots that do bricklaying, they're quite powerful. 3D printing is getting quite prevalent in the building industry, where you start basically printing entire buildings using robotic 3D printers. So here you already have additive manufacturing technology working along with a robotic technology to be able to deliver that result, right? Now, if the planning process that goes into doing that physical activity of laying the bricks on the building is optimized using IoT sensors on the supply chain, then the entire activity can be just in time, and it will have very few wastages, a lot safer. And if we were to somehow monitor every activity that's happening at the work site using regular sorties of drones that take images of what's kept where and what's happening where, then at any given moment of time, you will be able to see the time-lapse progress of how a building's coming up, and a client would get an update pretty much. So you can see we are talking about drones, we're talking machine learning, we're talking robotics, we're talking additive manufacturing, IoT. It's all of these working together.
Yes.
That's actually delivering a whole new way of disrupting the entire industry.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge. And if someone's listening right now, and there's, it sounds like there's going to be a lot of disruption in our lifetime for whoever's working. What do you think are the individual actions they should take, or the characteristics, so they can be on the right end of some of these changes?
Right. First of all, get to learn a little bit about these technologies. We get so lost in the gloss and the hype that at times we think it's too far out there. But when you start to think that you're actually using facial recognition on your phone today, and it's the same technology that will identify the various objects at your work site using the cameras that you already have, it brings a completely different perspective. So first is to have that demystification of technology components and start looking at little steps you can take, while you can have a grand vision of how the $14 trillion construction industry is not going to change overnight using one technology. It'll change one brick at a time.
Oh, I love it.
So what you need to do is identify those bricks that you need to fix today.
Yes.
Start with those baby steps. Look at what technologies you're comfortable with. Look at what technologies your partners can deliver to you today. And start with little minimum viable products. Learn from that startup industry where you pick up a little idea, develop it, create a minimum viable, test it out. For all you know, something that looks very sexy may not be delivering that value, or it might deliver something completely different to what you had intended it to deliver. Or there might be impediments along the way that you're not ready to put the time and effort to overcome at this stage. So there would be a lot of lessons learned through these baby steps on the AI journey that you can take. So start with those baby steps. Don't get lost in the hype. That's what my suggestion would be.
Awesome. Phenomenal. Absolutely been amazing speaking to you. Absolutely fascinating conversation. I'm really excited about what's coming for the future and following your journey, because I think there's I've never met anyone in such a better position to help companies through this journey of disruption and take on these opportunities you're talking about. So been an absolute pleasure.
It's been an honor coming on your podcast. Thank you so much for having me.
And if people want to find out more about you, where can they find you?
Google. So my name is Samir Sinha, Samir Sinha, and the company, the startup that we're part of is called RobonomicsAI. So robots delivering economics using artificial intelligence. So that should...
Awesome.
So just Google us. You can write to us at info, INFO, @robonomics, Robonomics, AI.com.
Hey guys, Adam here. Just before you go, just one quick request. If you're enjoying the show, please leave a review. It helps our rating and ranking on iTunes, so more people can hear from the people who are making our cities better places for our future.